Great to be with you. Steve Jones joined by Jason Roman Reigns Lord. So 1 year ago today, Pat Fitzgerald was the head football coach at Northwestern. Mel Tucker was the head football coach at Michigan State. Oregon and Washington were still trying to figure out their way on a TV contract with the Pac-12, and nobody had ever heard of Connor Stallions.
It's true.
A lot has changed in 12 months. Pat Fitzgerald is now embroiled in a lawsuit against Northwestern for wrongful termination. Mel Tucker is embroiled in a lawsuit over wrongful termination. Oregon and Washington are excited about the fact that they are joining the Big Ten and have found a lifeboat. And Connor Stallions is somebody that people look at and say, so, that's how you turned it around the last 3 years. Really? Okay. So let's get to the Pat Fitzgerald part of it. Because the judge in this case, and by the way, in terms of the legal team that Fitzgerald has hired, they are considered to be among the top shelf in Chicago, just so everybody knows. So he went out and he found himself some people that can have the potential to get the job done. He wants $130 million. The Northwestern motion to dismiss the wrongful termination lawsuit was denied yesterday. And this sets up a pre-trial, potential trial for April of next year. Not now, but April of next year. So let's get to the part that neither side wants to see happen. Neither side wants victims to testify. Neither side. Fitzgerald doesn't want any potential victims to testify, and Northwestern does not want any potential victims to testify. In the end, you would think that there will be a settlement here, but based on the motions to this point, they aren't close to it. Daniel Kabasiak, who's the Cook County Circuit Court judge that you've faced many times, set a trial date for April 7th next year. If you recall, when all this came out, Northwestern suspended Fitzgerald for 2 weeks. And then as the groundswell of national media then started going after Northwestern, they then terminated him and moved and elevated David Braun, and they turned out to have a season where they had a winning season and a bowl season. Braun was the Big Ten Coach of the Year, and it wasn't as if they did anything ingenious to elevate him. Here were the classification. Here was the single biggest classification why David Braun was elevated. He had only been on the staff since January. Thus, he had the least amount of time there. That's why they moved him up. There's no connection with anything that's happened in the past because he had only been on the staff for a few months. So, this is employer-employee debate, said the judge. As Fitzgerald argues, and as the court agrees, in every contract there is an implied doctrine of good faith and fair dealing, and that is yet to be determined in this matter. He filed the lawsuit in October. He agreed to the original suspension, obviously did not agree with the termination. And At a February hearing, Fitzgerald's attorneys had pushed for a December trial, arguing that it would allow him to avoid missing a third season of coaching at the college or pro level. Northwestern attorney Reed Shar said that while the 2025 date is aggressive, over here in the back, you can't get this ready in a year?
In a year. That's what I'm thinking. Got a little bit of time to do it.
It's like when these investigations drag on. It took us a year and a half. A year and a half. It took them a year and a half to do a deflated football. You're like, a year and a half? How about like a month and a half? We're done. It doesn't take that long. It's more achievable than December, citing a large number of discovery documents that could only be reviewed by the end of June. So you can review them by the end of June, but you need 9 more months after that?
Yeah, you bet.
To what, to make up something?
Apparently.
So, after receiving a complaint about hazing within the program in November 2022, the university launched an investigation in January 2023. It was led by attorney Maggie Hickey. The probe found that while claims of hazing from a former player were largely corroborated, there was not sufficient evidence that Fitzgerald and other coaches and staff had knowledge of the incidents. But Northwestern attorney Reed Shar argued at the February hearing that additional allegations of hazing from former Northwestern players prompted the decision to fire Fitzgerald. So again, 1 year ago today, Oregon and Washington were still trying to help out with a TV deal for the Pac-12. Mel Tucker was the head football coach running spring practice at Michigan State. Pat Fitzgerald was the head football coach at Northwestern running spring practice there. And Connor Stallions was writing a manifesto in the back room. Welcome to the Big Ten. Wow. Okay. So that's where the Fitzgerald deal. Look, Northwestern does not want the people on the victim list to testify.
Pat, yeah.
Now, right. Pat, we all know Pat doesn't want them to, his side.
Yeah.
But the school doesn't either.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Different times, man.
Oh, yeah.
Different times. Meanwhile, of course, you don't care. You're going to WrestleMania.
I have enough concern of stuff that I'm going to be covering for a year is going to.
You don't care about stuff. I can tell you don't care. Yeah.
Maybe Connor Stallions would be there videotaping the wrestlers and forwarding it to the other guys.
Oh, you're just the lowest form. Okay.
Keep my eyes peeled for him.
Yeah. Andy Enfield says he would not have gone to SMU if they were not in the ACC. Now, who knows what the issues happen to be at USC because it's a new athletic director. Yep. And and now, of course, that means you're already into the transfer portal window anyway. But at USC, there's that 30 days. The people are wondering what Bronny James is going to do.
Yeah.
And as they asked LeBron about it, and he said, well, he has decisions to make. Okay. Now, there's a lot of talk that Eric Musselman is a possibility to leave Arkansas and go to USC. We'll see what happens, because last year they got to the Elite Eight. I watched them, get to the Sweet 16. Because I was sat courtside at the Arkansas-Kansas game last year. That was the game right before Penn State, Texas. brilliant performance,
Yeah.
terrific athletes, play fast. Took a shirt off after the game. Just
Yeah, no, not so much.
it's just like just look away. Nothing to see here. But this year, after beating Duke early at home, they did not have a great year this year at Arkansas.
No.
Enfield said he would not be in Dallas if the Mustangs weren't about to move into the ACC. He said, no. We were extremely happy at USC, and I had an incredible staff, players, great support from the administration, and we lived at the beach, so not bad at all. Well, you could have gone to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That's basketball-rich league. I don't know. I'm sure you got a lot of... Look, SMU is not shy on cash.
No, they've showed that.
No. I mean, they're not even taking a TV cut. No, we don't need it. We're good. Right? Now, the next time through, maybe not, but... But the school official said that $100 million was raised within just a week to support the transition to the new league. He raised $100 million in a week. I mean, it's like the Patches the Dog Fund.
Well, that hit record highs.
Yeah. The enthusiasm is still at a fever pitch, with boosters filling the room for Enfield's introduction, along with the pep band and cheerleaders. Can't go back 40 years, but certainly can't imagine it's greater than it is right now in at least a generation. They said tremendous momentum, got to take advantage of it. 40 years ago, I was in Dallas doing an SMU game. Well, actually, it's 42 years ago. Yeah. I think, wow. And then Jonte Davis at Florida Atlantic, or excuse me, Janelle Davis from Florida Atlantic. Good player. I mean, finally got a chance to see him in person down in Orlando. Put his name in the transfer portal, but also says he's going to declare for the NBA draft as well. So he's going to keep all of his options wide open. Okay. And it looks like Tim Pernetti, sports executive, is going to be the next commissioner of the American Athletic Conference. So that's all the news outside. But, I mean, think about that a year ago in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
There were just 14 schools. All right. Amazing. And at Providence, let's see, Devin Carter, the Big East Player of the Year, said he is foregoing his senior year at Providence. He is going into the NBA draft. He is considered to be in the 15 to 20 area when the draft gets rolling. All right, so those are some of the stories. Now let's go to Kansas City, because this is a very interesting story. Yesterday being Tuesday, there were primaries across the country, and Jason voted in 8 of them. How do you get away with it? How do you do it? It's a lot of assumed names. You know, he voted in Kentucky under the name of Jerry Valeri. Voted in the no. So, voters went to the polls in Missouri yesterday, and in Jackson County, Missouri, there was a referendum on a sales tax to fund a new downtown ballpark along with major renovations to Arrowhead Stadium. And the initiative, like these initiatives usually pass. This one was voted down 58 to 41. I wonder if it should be 58-42, but 58-42, or we'll just say that.
Yeah.
Royals owner John Sherman, Chiefs president Mark Donovan already had a feeling it was not going to happen. Okay. Right now, they have a 3/8 of a cent sales tax that has been used for the upkeep of the Truman Sports Complex. That's where both stadiums are. Okay. Kauffman Stadium for the Royals, Arrowhead for the Chiefs. They were going to replace it with a similar tax that would have been in place for the next 40 years. Now, let's give the Royals credit on this part. The Royals have pledged $1 billion for their project. And they wanted to use their share of the tax revenue to fund a $2 billion plus ballpark district. Now, it would not be out where the complex is. It would be downtown. The Chiefs want to stay at Arrowhead. But the NFL rich team didn't pledge $1 billion of their money. They pledged $300 million. They say the overhaul at Arrowhead is $800 million. Sherman said, "We're deeply disappointed as we are steadfast in our belief that Jackson County is better with the Chiefs and the Royals. As someone whose roots run deep in this town, who's been dedicated a fan and season ticket holder for both these teams, and now leading a remarkable ownership group." Donovan said the Chiefs would do what was in the best interest of the fans of the organization to move forward. Nobody knows what that means. Okay, so what could this mean? The Chiefs could try again. Rework a plan that's more agreeable to the voters. Change their funding approach to include more private investment or listen to offers from competing cities and states. States? Yes. Okay. Guess where, okay, the Kansas City team plays in MLS. Kansas City's team in MLS plays in Kansas City, but Kansas City, Kansas. Where is the Kansas Motor Speedway? Oh, it's in Kansas City, but it's in Kansas City, Kansas. It's on the other side of the line. Oh. And by the way, they have shown interest in bringing the teams over the state line, moving them 20 miles essentially. Donovan said, "We respect the process. We feel we put forth the best offer for Jackson County. We're ready to extend the longstanding partnership with the teams I've enjoyed with the county." Now, they're not going anywhere for the foreseeable future because the lease runs out at the end of 2030, essentially January 31, 2031. Okay? All right. Sherman said the Royals will not be playing at Kauffman Stadium beyond the 2030 season. Okay. Okay. The stadium plans received significant public pushback almost from the start when the team struggled to put concrete plans before the voters and were accused of lacking transparency throughout the process. Last fall, the Royals unveiled two potential locations for the ballpark district, one in the eastern edge of downtown and the other across the Missouri River in Clay County, Missouri. But a self-imposed deadline to finalize their location lapsed without a plan. And in February, they finally announced they had scrapped both concepts and had chosen a different downtown spot. So if you're wondering why people are like, "Oh, wait, give us something that we can vote on here," that's about what this comes down to. The new area known as, and they borrowed this from Jason's family tree, Crossroads. What? Has a vibrant arts and restaurant scene. Okay. Now, this would not fit in with you and your WWE crowd.
Not quite. Not a little off.
All right. And for those of you who just went to the NCAA Wrestling Championships, it is just blocks away from T-Mobile Center, which is where the NCAA Wrestling Championships happen to be. It's near the bustling Power and Light Entertainment District. It is also close to the Kauffman Center for Performing Arts. something that Jason's walked by many times. And they also have the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum there. The plans are vague. The latest ballpark renderings were made obsolete just last week when the Royals acquiesced to Mayor Quentin Lucas's request that a major street that would have been part of the stadium footprint remain open. Lucas did not endorse the tax initiative until the Royals agreed to the change. Right. Deidre Chastain, a voter from Independence, Missouri, and a big fan of this show. No. I think everyone has had the same mixed feelings. In fact, she goes all the way back to attending games at Old Municipal Stadium when the Royals played there from 69 to 72, which had been, of course, the home of the Kansas City A's before that. Says, it's not that we mind paying the 3/8 cents sales tax. I think the problem is putting the stadium where it is. We're saying don't ruin businesses that have been established down there for years. It's fair. The club also has not reached a sales agreement with many of the landowners in Jason's neighborhood, Crossroads. And other businesses had expressed concerns about traffic, congestion, and parking in a thriving residential neighborhood. Why don't they just build it in the parking lot and kind of move the parking around for 2 years?
Yeah. Makes too much sense.
In Comiskey Park, they built it right next to the old one. Philadelphia. You know, I remember going to Citizens Bank Park for a game, and the vet was in rubble. It's the best it ever looked.
It was in rubble? Yeah, it still had...
it really looked great.
No, it looked phenomenal.
Best it ever looked. I'm going, wow, now that's the way it should look.
It's not exaggeration.
Right, but I mean, you see what they did with Pittsburgh.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Where they, the ballpark's a stadium, imploding Three Rivers. Same thing with Riverfront when they put up the Paul Brown Stadium, whatever it's called now, and Great America Ballpark. I mean, they're all in the same basic areas that they were before. All right? Now, when the Cowboys moved from Irving out to Arlington, but they put it near the ballpark. And now you're utilizing parking spaces for everything. And, it was a real boon to the Super Walmart across the street, too. I'm not joking.
I'm sure. Okay? There's no question.
Because that is what's across the street from the
that's like
Jerry World.
Lambeau Field, you had the old, I guess you could say, because they're not in business anymore, but you had the old Kmart. Lambeau Field.
Yeah,
same
exactly.
thing.
Yep. Yeah. The Royals insist on playing in a new ballpark. The Chiefs want to stay put. They want to renovate the stadium because they just feel like with the tailgating scene and everything like that, that's fine. The Chiefs had hoped their success, including 3 Super Bowl titles in the past 5 years, would sway voters in their favor. It did not. 58% voted no on this. And the reasons are solid. In other words, show me what you're going to do here. See, they haven't been able to show what they're going to do. Well, go back to the drawing board, right? In a year, you can come up with a plan, just like you can come up with a plan to go to court in the Northwestern case in a year. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's not a lot of time. It's a year.
It's a year. You got time.
Okay? Remember, I outlined what happened in a year in the Big Ten. And then there's Stephon Diggs. Finally traded. He goes to the Houston Texans for draft pick compensation.
Yeah, sounds like it's going to be a second-round pick in 2025 from Minnesota going to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yep, Texans are getting a fifth and a sixth this year, fifth next year. Sixth next year, fifth this year.
Yep.
I think that's what it is.
So they already have Joe Mixon. They couldn't get Saquon Barkley, so they got Joe Mixon. Then Danielle Hunter. They pick up Diggs to go with, obviously, Stroud and everybody else they have.
Yeah, I think they drafted real well last year, too.
Yes, they did. Yeah. Now, the Bills have now traded Stephon Diggs, release Tre'Davious White, who was hurt and out almost all last year.
Some of the Rams.
Jordan Poyer, starting center Mitch Morse. These are all cap moves. Gabriel Davis ended up signing with the Jags. Leonard Floyd went to the 49ers, where his talent will be put to no use.
Entirely, yeah.
I mean, do you worry about your coaching staff? I'm starting to think that D'Amico Ryans was the best coach you had.
Very, very well might have been as good as Kyle can be with the talent.
Yeah.
D'Amico's phenomenal.
Let's be straight about what Diggs has done. Diggs was phenomenal in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He gave an immediate lift to the offense in Buffalo for the first couple of years he was there. But the last 2 years, he has been, for the most part, a flat line in Buffalo. I mean, good, not great.
Right. Yeah, not top 5 receiver in the
He
league
has
like
been
he was. Yeah.
good the last 2 years in Buffalo.
Pro Bowl, but not top 5.
No, he's been good, not great. I don't even think he's Pro Bowl level. Pro Bowl, you're talking about the top six receivers.
Yeah.
He's not one of the top six receivers in the game. He thinks he is. He's not. All right? Now, maybe a couple of years ago he could have made that.
I think he could easily make that argument. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
But he has been good in Buffalo the last 2 years. I didn't say bad. I said he's been good.
Been good.
But he has not been great.
No, he's not been the Stephon Diggs of the past. No.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, is it the scheme? Is it whatever? Or has he lost a half step? Or whatever the reasons may be? Or is he just too disgruntled? Who knows? But he's been good, not great the last 2 years there. His presence has been as much a difference maker as anything. Playmaker, the last 2 years.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's where he is. Now, maybe going to Houston re-energizes him. I have no idea. Playing home games indoors as opposed to playing outdoors.
I think that is a big factor, even though he played at Maryland. I think that is a factor. I thought he was very effective in Minnesota when they played at home. When he was on the road, he was good, but he wasn't as good. I think that could play a role.
So Diggs goes, and again, like they make these trades, and there's a lot of 5th and 6th round picks in a lot of these trades. Mm-hmm. That's why the Claypool thing to this day still mystifies me.
Where you get a second-round pick.
You got a second-round pick?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? And he's in the CFL now, isn't he?
He's going to be. Yeah.
Okay.
Terrell Owens was traded for what? Well, initially Terrell Owens was traded for a second-round pick to Baltimore, and then obviously that was flip-flopped and used for a 5th.
Most of these trades are 5th, 6th, 4 through 7.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Picks. They are not in the upper. They're not first 2-day picks normally. That's why the Claypool thing was so shocking. If anybody's, it should be traded for a 7th-round pick. Right.
I think a lot of teams are learning, too. I think that's the other part of it. Not only, it's obviously a different position. Quarterback's your franchise, but what teams gave up for Russell Wilson, what teams gave up for Stafford. Granted, the Rams won a Super Bowl with him. But still, you give up a lot of capital, 3 and 4 first-round picks. Suddenly you're 5-6 years because you end up trading 2 more without a first-round pick. It takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. You can see that the Rams franchise is much better now, but it took 3 years to get back to that point.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's no question that these front offices are learning with the capital they're giving up.
Exactly. Then there's the A's. They met with the Oakland and also the Alameda County group on a 5-year extension of the lease with an opt-out after 3 because their lease at the Coliseum, which is in about the same shape as the Roman Coliseum,
You're not wrong. It's bad.
Runs out at the end of this season. So it'll be a 5-year lease with an opt-out after 3. But now they're going to meet with Sacramento. Okay. Now, Sacramento, they draw pretty well there, by the way.
Yeah.
The Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao said that Oakland made a fair and reasonable offer to the A's. We await their response and look forward to continuing discussions as necessary. Okay. Now, Sacramento enters in. They're trying to pit one against the other. Meanwhile, the Tropicana is still standing. in Las Vegas. You're like, well, what does that mean? Because it's the parking lot of the Tropicana where they're going to build the stadium. And I think the Tropicana, they're close to closing it, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Vivek Ranadive is the owner of the Sacramento Kings, longtime friend of A's owner John Fisher, and sees a Major League Baseball franchise as the next step in Sacramento's ascension to a full-fledged big league city. He also owns the Sacramento River Cats, which is the Giants' AAA affiliate. They play in West Sacramento. They would share Sutter Health Park with the A's. They would temporarily house the A's, would position Sacramento to be the team's permanent home if the move to Las Vegas falls through. What a mess.
Yeah, complete mess. There's just no other way to put it. It's really just a disaster, and they send out, flyers to people. Oh, if the stadium, to employees, if the stadium falls below 5,000 today, we're going to close this gate, and this gate. That's unbelievable. It's just, it's baseball attendance isn't good to begin with, but you have an incident and situation like this where it's unfortunate in so many ways.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And you go back to 30 years ago, Oakland Alameda County Coliseum was literally, it's still not a great stadium, but it was rocking when you had that A's franchise in the 80s, early 90s, as dominant as they were. Should have won a lot more than one World Series with the teams they had, but
right, sure.
Absolutely, just you look then and then you look now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. They did officially close the Tropicana yesterday after 67 years. So there you go. 7 decades to clear way for baseball stadium. All right. The hotel guests checked out for the last time before the 67th anniversary of the iconic resort. Tropicana was once the crown jewel of the Strip.
Absolutely.
And has struggled to compete with the newer mega resorts that you attend, of course, and is scheduled to be demolished in October.
Well, even so
they closed it yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen the Tropicana, obviously, but
yeah,
opened in '57. It was the most expensive Las Vegas resort to be built, with a price tag of $15 million. Bally's purchased the property in 2022 for $148 million. That's a little profit. I think the property's decline is that it went through several ownership changes when other hotels were not. Then it was surrounded by these mega resorts, which, includes the Bellagio and Paris and places like that, So the Tropicana, gone. In fact, you just got back from there hours ago.
Braved the storm. They braved the storm. I said I got a show to go to. It doesn't matter that it's pouring rain.
Yes. Well, Diamonds Are Forever, the Bond film, was filmed there, by the way, just so you know. That was during the heyday. Now, it's going to be a $1.5 billion baseball park. But they don't have everything squared away on it yet with the state and things like that. I mean...
No. And I think we're reaching a point.
Now, here's one, okay? What's the population of Center County? About 160,000, right?
1,000, yeah.
150, 160,000.
Yeah.
You want to know what the population of Clark County, which includes Las Vegas, is? Just guess.
It's got to be more, right?
No, it's 100,000.
It's 100,000?
That's
wow.
all it is.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Hey, it's like really?
That's surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's not, again, like a lot of people don't live there. They go there, but they don't live there.
That's definitely surprising.
Yeah,
And
I'm talking about the county population.
Yeah, because the actual Clark County that stretches Nevada to Utah, that's got to be in the millions, I would think.
Yeah, because the population of Las Vegas itself is 640,000, but the surrounding area of Las Vegas is 100,000. That's it. That's it. I'm talking about the surrounding area. I'm talking about the burbs.
Yep.
All right? It's not quite what people realize. Like, it's not like a mega population area.
I think it's reaching the point now too, where you're obviously you're almost there to begin with, but you're going to have every sports organization in Las Vegas here within the next decade and a half.
Yeah, because the NBA
is going to go there too. Yeah, there's no question. NHL, NBA, NFL obviously has the Raiders, and now baseball's going to have the A's. I don't think there's any question now. At this point, you're going to have major organizations all there. I don't think there's any doubt.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah.
You want to talk disorganization on a bunch of fronts here.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to let you carry the show for a couple minutes. I'll be back in 1 minute, okay?
All right.
Go get something and be back.
Enjoy.
I will.
Yeah, I think obviously it's a situation where you think about the tradition that the Oakland A's have had in the city of Oakland. You look at what's happened with through the 80s, as I said, one of the more dominant franchises in baseball. Yeah, they had the star power, steroid use or not. They still had the star power with Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. You had best closer in baseball. You had the best, one of the best players in baseball, best leadoff hitter in baseball, Ricky Henderson. So you had that. Then you had that little surge there in the 2000s, or late 90s, 2000s, when you had AL MVPs. You had Tejada. You had Jason Giambi. And it's unfortunately a sad situation to what's happening in Oakland, to what's going to happen to the A's here. Their attendance, fans are boycotting games, and I can clearly see why. It's understandable why. And you're looking at a spot there where now they get set to at some point make that move to Vegas, and the point I just made to Steve. I don't think there's any question that you're going to be having a town where it used to be it still is a city of entertainment. We used to have the city of entertainment where you had the occasional basketball game or the occasional football game that you were able to bring in there and just completely make it a tourist attraction to the point that it brought it together. But now you're reaching the point where, as high as gambling has become in the sports world, and there's no ignoring it, it's legal in many, many, many states at this point, and as popular as it's become, it's made Las Vegas even more attractive. And I think when you look now at what is happening with these professional sports teams, Las Vegas is absolutely going to have, in my opinion, every major sport is going to be there at some point. It's already there with baseball. It's going to be there. It's already there with football. Going to be there with baseball. Hockey, same thing with basketball. You've had the NBA All-Star Game at the Thomas and Mack Center. You've had preseason basketball at the Thomas and Mack Center. There's no doubt when Adam Silver expands the NBA next go around, which is going to be very soon, Las Vegas is going to be one team that is going to be in that conversation, that is going to be a finalist. Seattle's probably going to be a finalist. They deserve a team. They were very hungry for a team for many years now, ever since the Supersonics left, but I still think Las Vegas is going to be that place where it's going to be extremely popular, and you're going to have those expansion teams without question. And Oakland's going to be the latest part of it. And that's now you have an A's franchise, which is still trying to figure out what it's going to do for the next couple of years, but it makes its move to Las Vegas. A couple other moves, as Steve mentioned, Stephon Diggs being traded to the Texans. The final compensation was indeed a second-round pick of 2025, so not even a second-round pick this year. Second-round pick 2025, which is going to be Minnesota's pick, going to the Bills. So interesting to see what's going to happen there. A lot going on in the world of sports. Penn State football got back at it in spring practice yesterday, which I think is going to be great. It's going to culminate coming up next week with the annual Blue-White game at Beaver Stadium, 2 o'clock is the start time. Always great. It finishes spring practice. I think it's always a great moment for the fans too. Fans get the chance to step on the field at Beaver Stadium for one time, and that to me it's always a special feeling. I think with all as high priced as sporting events have gone this day and age worldwide, it's tough to take a family places. And you look at the blue-white game, you have that opportunity where you're going to have that moment where, look, still free admission. You get the chance to take the kids, take the family, get to be on the field. It's an experience they're not going to forget at all when you look at it. And then that's coming up again next Saturday already. Time flies. It's incredible. We're into the month of April already, even though the weather doesn't entirely show it just yet. But into the month of April, spring practice. Before you know it, we're going to be talking about Penn State football in the fall coming up. Steve mentioned everything that's happened to the Big Ten in this last year, which has reached us and gotten us to that point now. But going to be very interesting to see what the year brings for the Big Ten. Just mentioning stuff that you brought up, the 1 year leading us to now.
Yes. Yeah, I found what I was looking for.
All right.
So we were, football, of course, yesterday, the opportunity for the media to get in and watch. That's 9 practices down now.
Yeah.
And they'll go again tomorrow. They go Saturday. And next week, they'll go Tuesday, Thursday, and again, they'll do their typical Friday that they do before a game.
Yeah.
And the reason they want to do that is think of all the guys on this team that have not gone through it. They haven't gone through a Friday before a game. That way they can treat the game like it is a game. And then go from there. It is through 9 practices. This is a competitive, energetic group, which has been terrific to see. And now, do you every once in a while have a day where, hey, the offense won this drill by just pick a number, 11-5, or the defense won this drill and they won it 16-8, right? You want to have as many to end. Let's just pick the number 17 as a number to work with, because you want to pick an odd number. You want the drills to end 9-8 one way or the other, if you can. That tells you that one side got something, the other side got something. They've had more of that happen than the opposite, which is a plus. So that's been important to see. I think the transfers have fit in nicely with this team. Jalen Kimber, A.J. Harris, Nolan Rucci, Julian Fleming. Meyer's been in the mix of kicking, but Sandra Sahadic and Ryan Barker, the 2 left-footed kickers, have been right there in the thick of it as well. Justin Lustig said yesterday, he says, hey, look, Meyer got off to a slow start. That's not inaccurate. That's true. And that's where they are right now. And I think that when you look at spring practice, let's establish a couple things right out of the gate. Number 1, no job is ever won in spring practice. Right? So, okay, so don't start sitting there and think to yourself what a depth chart looks like. No job is won in spring practice. Now, does it set you up? Because when you start training camp, you do have to start with a group that are your 1s. You do have to start with a group that are your 2s. And then you have to start with a group that are your 3s. You have to. You have to put a first unit out there just to run unit stuff. Right? And then you go from there. But jobs are not won one way or the other and solidified until about 2.5 weeks into training camp, maybe 3. But 2.5 weeks into training camp, not now. Not now. But you can get a real feel for potential. You can get a real feel as to who's going to compete for it. So you can take a long look at that once we get to the spring game. But no jobs. No jobs are won in the spring. None. Contrary to what some may. Now, is it hard to believe that somebody will lose a job in the spring? No, you don't lose your job either. Mm-hmm. Right? But you have to keep getting better, and that's the important part of what spring football happens to be. And have they had a lot of recruits come through? Yes. And of course, on the basketball front, transfer portal continues, and of course the pickup they got this week, and this is a good pickup. Right. This is a player that Dick Girardi has seen a lot of, because he saw a lot of Enzi when he was playing for George School. And Dick went over and he watched a lot of George School games because of that. And he and I privately talked about him last year. Okay. And we did. Because, he saw so many games, and there was the guard that ended up going to Virginia. He reclassified, and he was a focal point for a lot of people. Well, this kid in the last, especially the last 6 weeks of said season, was really playing well. Well, now he goes out and goes to Xavier, and to be frank with you, they put a lot of weight on him to make him a center in the Big East. And Dick and I talked about this during the season, because we watched a couple of Xavier games when we were on the road. You're like, okay. And Dick said to me, it doesn't make sense what they're doing with him. I said, yeah, I know. I got it. I know. Well, it turned out now he's going to transfer here. He is more of a 4 than anything, but he can play 5. He also can play 3, by the way. It's not as if he can't play that either. But that was a big opening get for Penn State. And again, don't fall into the trap of looking at his stats. Okay? That's the easy thing to do. And a lot of what I'm talking about is Dick seeing him in person. And he knows what he's talking about. And he really, really likes him as a player. And then for Brent Scott, I think this is a golden opportunity for him to get out there and work with a guy like this. And I know he's excited about that. Demetrius Lilly ended up going to LaSalle, which is great. Lower Marion kid. He'll go down there. He'll do well at LaSalle. The key for him is that he's got to keep himself healthy enough to play. And that's going to be, because here that was always his issue. Mm-hmm. Weight was his issue his first year. Then he just busted his backside and lost all that weight. He is a player. He listens. He's a good screener. He is a good finisher around the basket. Meach does a lot of really good things, right? But you have to be able to keep yourself in the lineup. And he couldn't keep himself in the lineup. And that's, and I know that when they played in the tournament game against Indiana, it was pretty much felt that, okay, he'll be able to play some in the first half. Could he play much in the second half? And it turned out that the answer ended up being what we thought it would end up being, that the answer would end up being no, he couldn't. But that's where he's going to go. So no word yet on anybody else besides he and Kanye Clary. We all know. But I was asked about Kanye the other day, and of course I gave you the answer yesterday. Yeah. And I said, when it comes to stuff like that, I have transitioned to yesterday's news. Mm-hmm. There's no need to talk about it anymore. He's someplace else. Okay, good luck to him. I hope he does well. I hope he does great there. All right. I hope he does great there. Your guy Stephon Diggs getting traded to the Texans. I know you want him to go.
Oh, I've always been such a big fan of him ever since he pulled the crap he pulled here at Beaver Stadium.
Oh, you're just so bitter about life.
In his defense, the rest of the Maryland team did it.
Sure. Yeah, I know. It's that kind of Bush League stuff.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
What are you doing?
Absolutely. There's no need.
Don't be Bush League.
No
okay?
need. I don't care if you're a bitter. I don't care if. Well, first of all, that's not a bitter rivalry. But I don't care if you're a bitter. It's very one-sided if it is. But if you're very bitter as a rival, you shake hands. I don't care. Right. Magic and Larry Bird could shake hands. Anybody can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Both of them would have four more championships if the other one wasn't around.
Yeah.
Easily.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. But ever since then, and that look, he made the great play at the end of the Saints Vikings game. Okay, that's great. But again, the last 2 years he has been, and I think he is transitioned into more of a possession receiver because of it.
I agree,
and that's I think that's who he is in all this. I think that's what he will end up being with the Texans. That means that he has a chance to help C.J. Stroud, but he's not. He doesn't throw them over the top. I think the draft compensation they gave up is probably accurate for where he is in his career. That's what I think.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. And then you're going to WrestleMania.
I am.
Oh. And you're not going to watch the Final Four at all.
I will. It's going to be a...
You're not going to watch the Final Four.
Not live. Well, I'll see the first game. Second game, though, I'm going to...
You're not going to watch the Final Four. No, come on.
Second game, I am hoping nobody tells me who wins. I can get home and watch it immediately.
Oh, but you'll know who won the main event at WrestleMania.
I will know who won the main event at WrestleMania, yeah.
Who are you rooting for?
I don't know. Honestly, I really don't.
I don't know. You're going.
Yeah, I'm rooting for a good match. That's the biggest thing I'm rooting for. I think the biggest thing more than anything. It's obviously the nostalgia part of me. Grew up to the era of The Rock, so you want to root for him to win a match. But I guess he's the bad guy in this match. So
The Rock is the bad guy.
He is the bad guy. The Bloodline is the bad people, apparently. Cody Rhodes is the underdog / the hero, I guess.
Well, do you root for the bad guy or do you root for the hero?
Usually the underdog, but I in this case, I might root for The Rock. I think it's...
Is he going... He's going with Roman Reigns, right?
It's Rock and Roman, yeah, and Cody and Seth Rollins. Probably
you sure you don't want season tickets to a CFL team?
I see. I could have got that. Remember the band Kiss was selling their season tickets for $100? 8-9 years ago? The Los Angeles Kiss or whatever they were called.
Oh,
and
brutal. God, you're scary. You're not going to watch the Final Four. You're going to go and watch this.
I'll be watching the Final Four, just not live. Yeah, I won't be missing the Final Four. UConn's going to win the game. I'm not watching anyway.
What's interesting about UConn.
Folks at Alabama just hung up the phone on me.
Somebody was talking about, how would UConn react if they were in a close game? And I said, here's the issue.
It's been a little while.
I said, said the really good teams aren't in close games.
No.
And even when they lost to Creighton, they got blown out. It wasn't a close game.
No.
Like, okay. So I don't know how they react in a close game. But you have to remember the other team has to react well in a close game, too. So people
Which Alabama has, to their credit. Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Why didn't you go Sunday?
Couldn't go Sunday.
Why not?
Didn't work out.
Why not?
More expensive, number one.
More expensive.
It is.
You're already spending $100 on this. It's not like you're going to the Louvre. By the way, one of the pieces I picked up, like Center County roadways.
Yeah.
There are a lot of floods, and there are a lot of schools being dismissed early.
Yeah, I did notice the same thing.
Today. So,
Mifflin County also. So
I wanted to, make sure everybody knows what the list happened to be. But they're talking about so much rain in this area. Bald Eagle area is dismissing at 12:30 today. Bellefonte is dismissing middle and high schools at noon and elementary at 1.
Yeah.
District buildings close at 3. Penton's Valley will dismiss early. Pre-K through 4th grade dismissing at noon. Intermediate dismissing at 12:20. High school dismissing at 12:30. Phillipsburg Osceola dismissing at 1. Spring Creek Elementary and State College dismissing students early today due to a power outage caused by an individual that won't be named, Jason Lord. No. They had a power outage of the school caused by the storm. And there are a lot of roads that are flooded. Pence Creek's been flooding. Marsh Creek's been flooding. Fox Hollow Road from Toftrese Avenue in Patton Township to Big Hollow Road. Really? That road's flooded.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're going out to the airport, flooded.
Oh, boy. Yeah, take the back way in.
Buffalo Run Road. Right? I mean, Spring Creek near Hauserville Road is like up near the road.
Jeez.
That's all it's been doing here is raining since Monday.
Since Monday, yeah. It's continuing today.
Since Monday. I mean, and it poured. I mean, I'm walking to class this morning. It's pouring out. But no, I wanted to make sure that's what I went to get. I went to get the list, right, for the schools. So we got that. So that's good. It was crazy because some people watch this live and it may affect them.
Absolutely.
Right. Meanwhile, for those of you who watch in, say, I don't know, New Mexico, this doesn't affect you at all.
Not much.
Right. What he thinks also doesn't affect you. Just remember that. A message from this station and the Ad Council.